In Black Myth's Son Wukong, there are 4 secret dragons that you can fight to get very powerful items and crafting materials, and I'm going to quickly walk through all of their separate locations and all the materials that you get from defeating each individual one. I'm giving you a warning right now for spoilers, so let's get into it. And the very first dragon you can find is actually inside of Chapter 1 near the Forest of Wolves outside of the Forest Fast Travel location. Now there is going to be a catch because you have to find the waterfall first and you have to have a very specific item from Chapter 2 to open up the waterfall to get to the secret dragon. But first, follow the pathing that I'm showing you here inside of Chapter 1 so you know exactly where this waterfall is so you can come back later once you have that item from Chapter 2. Thankfully this is going to be Chapter 1, and when you come back here you'll have Chapter 2 level armor and probably an upgraded staff, so this won't be very difficult to fight the enemies in this area. So now that you know where this hidden waterfall is in Chapter 1, let's go to Chapter 2 very quickly and get the item you need to actually unlock this waterfall. Progress Chapter 2 until you start fighting the King of Flowing Sands and the Second Prince of Flowing Sands. What I want you to do is actually defeat and focus the Second Prince of Flowing Sands before you even think about attacking the King of Flowing Sands. Doing this will make your next step in this progression that much easier, because as soon as you defeat the Second Prince of Flowing Sands, the King is going to run away from this fight. Now don't worry, if you do end up killing the King of Flowing Sands before the Second Prince, you are going to have to continue the fight to defeat a powered up Second Prince of Flowing Sands, but you will be given an item to continue on this quest line. Now with that boss battle completed, you want to continue through the game as you normally would until you get to a cave-like area, which is a normal progression inside of Chapter 2. You're going to come across a short cutscene with a giant painted wall where you'll see the King of the Flowing Sands interacting at a cliff. What he is doing, he is actually summoning the first son of the Flowing Sands that you need to use to actually break open the decorated wall that you see your character peering down from. Now this cutscene that you're seeing here will only occur if you defeated the Second Prince first. If you defeated the King first, you'll be given a chunk of meat that you need to go to this exact location that you see the King and drop that piece of meat to again summon the first Prince of Flowing Sands. Now with the first Prince summoned, you're again going to want to try and get him to charge at you with a variety of different charging attacks that he has to go and hit this decorative wall in the arena. Once he has gone and charged at you, at some point he will have opened up a crack inside of this wall that after you have defeated him, you will be able to enter into this crack in the wall. That is a second area that we're trying to get into to get the particular item to open up the waterfall. Now if for some reason you defeat the first prince before he breaks open the wall, you can use some of the spirit summons like the Wandering Wight and Azure Dust summons to attack the same wall to open up the same crack. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Once you have defeated the sun, once again go and interact with the crack in the wall, and you're going to be teleported to a very open area where you're going to see a single mural on the wall with a single chest in the corner. Inside of this chest you are going to get the long scales. These long scales are used to open up the waterfall inside of Chapter 1 and also the sand waterfall in Chapter 2, which I'll talk about a little bit later in this video. But for now, let's return back to Chapter 1. Once again, your closest fast travel point is going to be the Forest of Wolves outside of the Forest Fast Travel point. Make your way back to the waterfall, and at this point you see the examine action item in front of the waterfall where you're going to actually use the long scales to obliterate the waterfall, and in the back you're actually going to see another crack that will allow you to actually go into the boss arena where you're going to be fighting that secret dragon, Red Long. Now at this point I'm not going to spoil the fight for you, just going to talk about the rewards you get from this particular dragon. For defeating Red Long, you'll be given the Thundertail, a very specific crafting material for a very specific staff that is one of 2 major pieces for that staff, so keep that in mind as we go into Chapter 2. You will also be given this very particular Curios, which is very helpful in the beginning of the game. Not one of the best ones you get in the game, but as you go from Chapter 1 and 2, it's very useful. You'll also be given a Long Pearl, another very specific crafting item, which is one that isn't used for particular staffs. So now that you defeated the Chapter 1 secret dragon, let's move on to Chapter 2 in the sand waterfall to get to the second secret dragon. Now inside of Chapter 2, you want to fast travel to the Right Cliff Rock Rest Flat fast travel point. From this fast travel point is a very short, very quick run up a hill where you're already going to see a sand waterfall at the top of this hill. Now as you may have already guessed, yes, you are going to use the long scales to open up this waterfall just like you did with the regular waterfall in Chapter 1. Be warned, there will be a couple enemies in this area that you want to defeat ahead of time, but they aren't all that difficult. Now once again, when you go and interact with this sand waterfall, you're going to get the same examination action that you want to go and use the long scales on. This again is going to obliterate the sand waterfall, and this time it's going to show you a door that you want to interact with to be transported to a very specific boss fight arena. Just like the previous dragon boss fight, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, so just know that it is an interesting boss fight. As soon as you enter this arena, you will be attacked by this boss. Now, the major items that you get from defeating this particular boss is going to be the Thunderbone, which is one of the 2 items that you need to craft a very specific staff that I will cover here in just a second, and you will of course also get another long pearl used for other different crafting items. Now, at the time of this recording, I don't know what the long pearls are used for, but I will update you guys as soon as I do. In addition to those crafting items, you will also be given this Curios that slightly reduces cooldown of all spells. Once again, not a great Curios to use. There are definitely better ones that do something similar to this, but it's definitely a good one to use inside of chapter 2. Now, the staff that I had mentioned before, the long wreath staff, only shows up if you have defeated one of these 2 dragons. So as you defeated chapter 1's dragon, you probably saw that you're able to craft this, though you were missing a couple materials. So now that you defeated both of these dragons, you're able to craft this staff. Definitely not the best staff in the game, but it's going to be better than some of the base level staffs you already have, especially if you're following this video in line with your playthrough. Now, as great as all of these items are for the first 2 dragons, the next 2 dragons give you even more powerful things. To go to the 3rd dragon on this list, we need to progress through chapter 3. Now, once you're inside of chapter 3, progress this level until you get to Bitter Lake Turtle Island. This is going to be your closest fast travel point throughout the entire chapter. And thankfully, the location of this next dragon is really close by. Just a heads up, I am going to unfortunately have to spoil the actual dragon's design to show you exactly where this dragon is, because he's literally sitting on the edge of a cliff right next to a small tree fishing into the water. Now, as soon as you go down even close to this guy, he will transform and start a boss fight with you. That, of course, I don't want to spoil for you. Just be prepared. It is a little bit of a tougher fight. Now, for defeating Cyan Long, you will get a variety of different things, such as the fine gold thread, which is great for upgrading certain armor. You also get a very unique item that is used for crafting another very unique staff, the Mountain Shaking Claw. This is just like the other staff that we talked about not too long ago, is this is the first of 2 pieces that you need to actually craft a very unique, very legendary staff. You will also get another long pearl, which of course is better to have all these items than not. And finally, you will get a soak for your gourd called Breath of Fire, which as you can see is very helpful if you like to use Cloud Step. So now that you have defeated all 3 of these dragons, you have now technically unlocked the 4th dragon inside of chapter 4, so let's go there. Inside of chapter 4, you want to progress this level until you get to the Webbed Hollow Cliff of Oblivion. This is going to be right next to a very particular mini boss fight in the game that will probably imprint into your brain as soon as you get to this fast travel point. Follow the pathing I'm showing you, because this is a really long path to get to this final dragon. As always, keep in mind that you're going to be attacked by a variety of different enemies. There's a bunch of different archers and a bunch of different enemies that want to try and knock you off a couple cliffs as you see along this path, but do your best to dodge them and keep following the path until you get to a very particular spot where this dark spider cave finally opens up to a beautiful cliffside with a bunch of vegetation. Continue through the path up this cliffside until you see a pagoda in the back where you'll see a character hanging out, but you'll also see that you have another fast travel point that you can unlock. Make sure that you save at this fast travel point, because it is going to help you a ton, because this boss is not easy to defeat. It's definitely one of the harder bosses inside of this game, in my opinion. Now, for some odd reason, you do not see this particular character, this particular dragon on this cliffside. It's probably because you haven't fully completed the other dragons on this list yet, because he only shows up after you defeated these other 3 dragons. Now, if you do see him, you are of course able to go and fight him for the final boss fight. Once again, I'm not going to show it for you, just good luck and have fun, because it was a tough boss fight, but also a really fun one. Now, for defeating this final dragon called Yellow Long, you'll get a variety of different items, such as this curios called the Golden Carp, which moderately increases the chance of getting materials from enemies. Fantastic. I didn't use it through my first playthrough, but I am using it through my second to make sure I have more than enough materials to craft things that I want multiple times. You will also be given the Sea Supporting Tendon. As you can see, this is a mythical level crafting item, the final item that you need to craft the very special dragon staff that you can only get by going through this entire quest line. You will also be given another long pearl, which again is never bad to have in your inventory. You will also be given this mythical steel that you can use to craft that legendary staff that I was talking about that you can only get by going through this entire quest line. But that's not all you're going to get from this boss fight. You'll also see that at the end of the boss fight, the weapon that the boss uses is thrown into the ground, and you are now able to pick this up to be used to transform into that boss that you just fought. This transformation spell is called Golden Lining. It's a really fun transformation to use, definitely top 3 in this game in my opinion. Let me know what you guys thoughts are on this transformation down in the comments when you do unlock it. Now finally, and arguably the best item that you get from completing this quest line is the Golden Long Staff. As you see, attack level of 108, and really helps out all your different pillar moves, which arguably is the best stance in the game. You also get additional damage from the summoned Long, as you see inside of the description, when you do a heavy attack that costs 3 or 4 focus points. By far one of the best weapons in the game. Though you may also notice that you're missing missing enough steel to actually craft this mythical weapon, but don't worry, as long as you go through and complete chapter 4, you'll be getting another piece of the steel, allowing you to craft this weapon. At the end of the day, is this Secret Dragon questline very long? Yes, it spans several chapters. It's going to take you several hours to do if you're going from start to finish. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Not only do you get 4 amazing dragon boss fights throughout the game that is already a fantastic game, you get unbelievable equipment and a ton of different crafting materials they can use for a variety of different things throughout the game. So in my closing statements, I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough guide for all 4 long dragon boss fights. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below so I know that you did find this helpful, and let me know your favorite part or your favorite boss down in the comments throughout this questline. Once again, I hope you guys found this walkthrough guide helpful. I'll catch you in the next video.